Stitcher, and welcome back to my channel for my most anticipated video of the year. It is WIP Parade time. If you are new here, hi, my name is Brijin. I will introduce myself in just a little bit, but I'm so glad that you stopped by. This is a great video to start with if you are new to my channel, because I'm going to be taking you through all of the cross-stitch projects that are active, things I'm working on, that I'm carrying into the year 2025. So it's technically my 2024 end of year WIP Parade, but we're filming it on January 1st of 2025. So a fresh year, fresh WIP pile. I am so excited to get into all of this with you. If you're returning, welcome back. I hope that you find this one enjoyable. I love WIP Parade season. It's a great way to tell if you like the style of a new Flosstuber that you're watching. And it's a really great chance for me to go through everything I have, kind of take stock and look back on the last year of my stitching, and I find that it's really fun. It's also a great video to stitch to because this one's gonna be long. I will warn you now, I have a good bit of WIPs, a lot less than last year, but still a good bit. So I have hot tea here, so grab your beverage of choice to attempt to make it through this next one. I am so excited. I've got all my notes ready to go. I have my bins of projects and everything, and it should be a pretty good one. So I'm gonna start off with just a small introduction of myself for those of you who are new. It should not take very long. And then we will go through all of my WIPs or works in progress chronologically by start date, because that's how I like to do it. And then at the end, I will actually talk about some of the things that I decided to UFO over the course of this year. UFO stands for unfinished object. It's essentially a project that I decided that it no longer serves me in some way, or I don't enjoy the process of working on it. So I don't normally talk about those when I make a decision, but I think some of you will notice that some of them are absent from this WIP Parade. I have a small amount of statistics about how my WIP pile has grown or changed over the last little bit. So I will do that too, and that should be the cadence of today's video. So if you would like to follow along with my stitching journey outside of this Flosstube extra big extravaganza of my WIPs, you can go ahead and like and subscribe and leave me a comment. I post regularly scheduled stitching updates about what I work on over the course of the year. Every 3 weeks is typically my filming schedule. So I hope that you'll go check out my backlog. I've got WIP parades dating back to the start of this channel in 2022, I think, is when I started this whole mess, and Flosstube is just an amazing thing. So without any further ado, let's jump into today's video because it's gonna be a long haul. Okay, so a little bit about me. Hi, my name is Brijin. I have been here on Flosstube for almost 3 years now. It'll be 3 years in June, and I absolutely love filming these little crafting updates. I've grown a lot as a stitcher, as a crafter in these last few years of making videos and talking about it. I love having this video diary type format to talk about my cross stitch. It's been so much fun. I've made some amazing friendships, and I've learned a lot throughout this process. So yeah, about 3 years, but I've been stitching for almost 4. I started my channel exactly 1 year to the day that I started cross stitching, and I love it. And I'm very excited. This year is the first full year that I have statistics, and that's really fun. So I do enjoy that. Outside of cross stitching, I do have other hobbies. I am actually a knitter, I crochet, I read a lot, and typically I will interpose those other hobby segments into my regular Flosstubes. I also quilt. Quilting is actually my first hobby before I got into cross stitch, and now cross stitch has taken everything over. And it is the craft that I have stuck with the longest as my primary hobby, which is really, really fun. It definitely scratches an itch for me, and I love it. I absolutely adore it. I'm actually wearing my first ever sweater that I knit myself, which I just finished. So if you watch my regular videos, you have not seen this yet. So that's kind of fun to wear a hand knit sweater while talking about all of my other hobbies. So yeah, if you like any of those things, those all make appearances in my videos, except maybe baking. I don't really talk about that one as much because the product it's usually eaten before I can show it to you. I am 26 years old, and I am single. I have two cats, Fergus and Fraser, who make occasional pit stops in my videos. I typically like to film when they're napping, otherwise they get into everything when I'm trying to stay organized, and that is very difficult. But Fergus is my tuxedo cat. He has one eye, and Fraser is my older adoptee, and she is the most gentle soul you will ever meet. And they are everything to me. I live in Fort Worth, Texas, and I am the museum stitcher because I work in museums, and so that's kind of the fun tie-in. Also, having a name like Brijin, most people can't spell it or pronounce it, so I figured museum stitcher is a lot easier for other people to say, and that's how I ended up with this channel name. And I think that's it. That might be all you need to know about me. My cross stitch style is kind of all over the place. I like doing small pop culture pieces. I like samplers. I like the whole gamut. You will find some of everything in my WIP pile typically, if not in my active WIP pile, in my WIP piles over the years. And yeah, I think that'll about wrap up that section. So we can move on into the actual juicy goodness of this video. So before we get into it, I want to give my annual WIP disclaimer. I have a lot of cross-stitch projects on the go. I know that some people feel some type of ways about people having a lot of stuff. I will say I don't think my WIP pile is not as big as it was last year. And a WIP pile is a personal thing. So if it's not for you that I have this much, you are free to go watch someone who does not have as many WIPs as me. You are in charge of the content that you consume here on the internet. So yeah, I give that disclaimer every year just to avoid nastiness in the comments. I know I have a lot of cross stitch going on, but I also love to make videos about it, and so it's kind of a self-sustaining thing, and it is something that I like to devote a lot of my time and energy to. It really helps my mental health to do things that are repetitive and to craft and hobby, and yeah, that's why I do all of this. So if you don't like that, you don't have to watch, but if you do, which I'm hoping you will, we will get into the regular stuff. So now that that is out of the way, let's officially get into it. So I have my projects all ironed. I like to iron my projects before a WIP Parade because I take progress photos and I do a fun little WIP Parade flip through on my Instagram. So I have everything ironed and laid out, but as I was pulling it out of my project bags, I didn't want to keep the needle minders on the projects so that my magnets didn't get all tangled and I didn't lose needles. So what I actually did is I found a spare magnet board and I popped all of the needle minders that are on my active WIPs onto this little magnet board. So I can show you all of my needle minders, which come from a variety of different places, all at once. So I will say I get the majority of my needle minders from Mad for Minders, Top Knot Stitcher, and some of them are enameled pins that I turned into magnets. Some of them are from Fangirl Fibers. Some are from Evertotes or Friends. Rebel Stitcher Designs is on here too. So that is my needle minder board. So if you don't see needles on my projects, I do keep a needle minder and a needle inside every project bag so that I can just grab it and go when I'm ready to work on it. But I'm going to pop this behind me. And that is the Needleminder Tour of 2025. So before we dive in, I'd like to give you a quick statistics overview for my 2024 stitching. I started in 2023 at the end of the year using the app Notion and the app Markup-R-XP together to gather all of my data. So that's where I'm pulling all of these numbers from. Markup is essentially the Apple version of Pattern Keeper, and it's a digital highlighter that tells me how many stitches I work on. I'm obsessed with it. It has totally changed the game for how I cross stitch and how I track it. It's not for everybody. Tracking your stitching isn't for everybody, but it is for me, and I absolutely love it. And then I gather that data into an app called Notion using the template provided by Stitchina T. And my friend Elizabeth also has a free template that is not quite as in-depth if you're looking for something a little bit more beginner friendly. There is a Notion learning curve and it does require computer skills, but it has been an invaluable tool for me this year. The template is amazing and it gives me all the good information that I want. So end of 2023, I was sitting at 44 active WIPs, and as of right now, at the beginning of 2025, I have 36 active WIPs and one that I need to restart in 2025. So technically 37 projects that I'm carrying into the new year, which is really good for me. My goal in 2024 was to do a low starts year and kind of be mindful about what I'm starting and try and finish things. And so getting almost, 7 projects down off of my WIP list is not bad. That is progress, and I'm very, very happy with that. Again, WIP count doesn't matter, but for me, I have noticed that over the course of the last year, my stitching speed has kind of changed. I enjoy working on projects for longer lengths of time before I put them away, and that's not really conducive to having a big WIP pile, which is, I liked to flit around to projects a lot more in past years than I have more recently, so I'm trying to kind of honor that style that I'm enjoying a little bit more right now. And so I'm trying to knock down just a little bit, just so I feel like I can devote more time without feeling like I'm neglecting other things. And that's just how my brain is working at the moment. I started in 2023, 50 projects, which is so many. And so my goal is to start less. I didn't give myself a number or anything to shoot for. And this year I started 24 things, 5 of which were individual samplers on the days of Christmas. So since that is kind of one WIP, those quasi count, not really as new starts since it's one big project, but they're in there. So technically 19 unique projects were started plus 5 days of Christmas. And I am very proud of that because 19 versus 50, huge difference. And then as far as finishes are concerned, in 2023, I finished 19 things. And in 2024, I got 24 finishes, 4 of which were days of Christmas finishes, which again are kind of their own category, but that is still averaging, if I take those away, 1 more finish this year than I got last year. And certainly some of my finishes this year were a lot bigger. So that is it. Of my 2024 days, I stitched for 290 days out of the 366, which is about 79% of my year I spent stitching. And that could have just been 10 stitches that day. That could have been 1,500, and that's really fun. So yeah, in 2024, I stitched a grand total of 168,559 stitches, which is awesome. I really feel like I could have gotten to 175,000, but I had a really bad month a couple months, so that's fine. And this is a little graph showing my monthly breakdown. My highest stitching month was actually October. I got 20,500 stitches in a single month, working on a variety of 11 different projects. And my lowest stitching month was August, which I only stitched 5,627 on 5 different projects. So that's kind of the breakdown. I slumped really hard end of July into August, so it's interesting to see that breakdown there. And I think that's it for statistics for me. A very quick overview. Hopefully that was painless for those of you who constantly comment that you don't like my statistics. I do, and it's my channel. So that is the monthly breakdown and kind of my stitching style. Into 2025, I am going to be dropping a finish parade and 2025 goals video. So definitely check that out if you're interested in hearing about my methodology and my take on my stitching in 25. But essentially, I'm gonna try and do 12 starts in 2025 and whip down on some bigger projects and really get good progress in, which I know is essentially what I said last year, but I didn't quantify it with a number. So that's what we're doing. And with that, we can get into the WIP Parade. We are going to go into the actual project goodness. Staying organized is always difficult, and I'm going to do my best to show you project bags as those come up as well. So we're gonna start off with technically an old WIP, but also a new WIP. This is a project all of its own category, and will actually be the only project that features both in my WIP Parade and in my finish parade. And this is the Days of Christmas by Hello from Liz Mathews. Now, this project I had originally started back in 2021, so this would have made it my oldest WIP. But I started on a fabric that I didn't love, and so I ended up restarting it back in 2023. So technically not started in 2021, but almost the oldest WIP. And I am doing all 12 of the Hello from Liz Mathews Days of Christmas pieces on one big cut of 46 count cream and sugar linen by Fiber on a Whim. And this project I'm obsessed with. I've been stitching these this year with my friend Cam of Cam the Stitcher, who I will talk about a ton. We stitch a lot together. She is doing all the trees and I'm doing all the samplers. And we are trying to finish a half of a day of Christmas every month to get them entirely finished, all 12, by the end of 2025. So I will show you, this is what this project looked like at the end of 2024. I do take a lot of progress photos throughout the year, but I am going to keep all of my progress photos today from my 2023 WIP Parade. So this will be all of my 2024 progress on a lot of different pieces. So this is what this looked like. I believe I had just finished the first day of Christmas. And so this year was to get through all 6 and the first half of 7. So you can see there were some mishaps along the way with this project. I did not end up finishing the 4th day of Christmas. When I was supposed to be working on that this summer, I hit a stitching slump pretty hard and had a lot of life stuff going on. So the 4th day did not get finished, and I fell a little bit behind in December because I did not have very many stitching days in December. And so I didn't start the 7th day, but I will be making that up in January. This is not a terrible place to be. I eked out the finish of the 6th day just recently, but I should be a little bit farther than this, but that's okay. Life happens. And the goal is to get caught back up and have all 12 of the samplers finished together by the end of 2025. So this is a very complicated WIP for me. It involves individual finishes, but they are all one big placeholder WIP. So need to get the 4th day done, but I am very proud of the progress this has made this year on this series. I believe I put in almost 30,000 stitches this year on this project, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, pretty impressive. I am very, very happy with it. The 6th day is one of my absolute favorites in this whole piece. Liz Mathews does have a charting on her website for stitching all 12 of these samplers without the individual borders, but I love the texture that the border adds to this piece. So I'm doing them all on one big project with 3 squares in between, both vertically and horizontally, with 4 across and 3 tall. So hopefully at the end of 2025, this will not be in my next WIP Parade. This will be a finish this year, but we will see. I do have a lot of stitching to make up. Doing the samplers, when my friend Cam is doing the trees, there is a lot more stitching in some of these samplers. The 4th day of Christmas is the most dense by far, which is of course the one that I didn't get finished, but we will get there. I have big plans for working on this in January to finish up the 7th day and then hopefully start catching back up on the 4th day. If I try and do 1,000 stitches on that every month, I should be finished with the 4th day by the end of the year, and that catch up should work. So that is the Days of Christmas. It is a WIP in its own category of mine and a focus project of last year and this next year. And hopefully after that time will be free to work on some other stuff. Okay, so in 2024, I touched 54 different projects. And I think I ended up having 9 WIPs that I did not touch at all this year, which is a record high for me. But again, I was trying to focus on projects more, and so some just fell to the wayside. And unfortunately, my oldest active WIP was one of the ones I didn't touch this year. And I am so sad to be carrying a 2021 WIP into 2025. This is my only 2021 active project. And this is Woodland Wonder by Glendon Place. I really wanted to finish this year, but unfortunately this project is sitting at only beading left. I'm stitching this as called for on 32 count vintage country mocha linen by Zweigart, and it is in the exact same place it was as of my last video, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. But this project is a combination of beads and full crosses, and I am not a beading girl, and I've discovered that with this WIP. So I am going to try and crank out a finish on this in January. It is wintry, it's Christmassy, but I need to get it done. And I just really need to sit down and crank on it. I just have to finish the beading on this Christmas tree do all the beading on this tree, and then there's some beads in the border. So yeah, that is probably, of all of my WIPs, this is my biggest shame project, because I really, really wanted to get my 2021 projects done in 2024. But again, some things just don't happen. You can only devote your attention to so much in a given year, and this unfortunately fell by the wayside. So that is that project. But I started that on Christmas Day of 2021, and I just have not touched it. So I think the last time I worked on it was December of 2023. It's fine. So let's move on into 2022 WIPs now that that is over. Now, 2022 WIPs, I did some restructuring, so you might notice some projects missing, but I really sat down and thought about what I wanted to stitch on. We'll talk more about UFOs a little bit later, but my oldest WIP from 2022 is the Bookcase by Galiana cross stitch. I started this in April of 2022, and I love this project. This has a special story. I didn't work much on this in 2024, but just a little bit. And this is what it looked like as of my 2023 WIP Parade. This project I'm doing a color conversion on. I am stitching it on 36 count Edinburgh linen from Picture This Plus in the color Highland, I believe. And the brown that I'm using for the actual bookcase itself is Black Walnut by Color and Cotton. Now, the issue with this project is I don't love the process of stitching on it. I am, at my core, a one-strand stitcher. And when I started this back in 2022, I started this with 2 strands of thread on the 36 count, which it is beautiful. But for me, I just don't love the process of 2-stranded stitching. It's not for me. It's not my favorite. And so I was talking to some of my stitching friends about this, and I was telling them that I really did not want to have to stitch almost 24,000 more cross stitches on this project with 2 strands. I'm facing down the barrel of a lot more stitching on this project, right? And my friend Elizabeth actually had a great idea, and then my friend Rachel popped in with more. So in the first half of 2025, my friends Elizabeth of Frizzy Lizzy Stitches, Cam of Cam the Stitcher, and I, and then maybe Rachel, I don't know if she wanted to participate or not, we are going to take projects that we don't love stitching on for one reason or another, or something that's really big that we want more progress on, and we are going to pass our projects around. So I am going to send the bookcase to Cam and Elizabeth. They are each going to send me other projects, and we're going to stitch about 2,000 stitches or so on everybody's piece. And that way, when it comes back, it has more progress done, and it's just a fun way to stitch something that's not necessarily your style. I know, I think Elizabeth is gonna be passing a frosted pumpkin piece, which I've never stitched on those, and I'm not sure what Cam is passing yet. But essentially, my friend Rachel had the idea that since I'm a one-stranded stitcher, when we pass this project around, Cam and Elizabeth will actually restart it for me using 1 strand. So essentially, this project has about 5,000 stitches done on it. By the time it makes the rounds, it will essentially be back at the same place I am now, but with 1 strand, and I can carry 1 strand stitching forward. Because I do love this piece. I love the colors that I've chosen. I will insert a mock-up here of what my color conversion breaks down to. And I really do want this as a WIP, but I really didn't want to do the rest of it with 2 strands. So that is the plan for this project. It's a little bit complicated, but I think it will be fun. This project in 2024, I did 2,276 stitches, and it is sitting at 16.7% done as of right now. And that's really awesome. So I am very much looking forward to getting this back with 1 strand and not having to work 2 on it anymore. But it was one of those WIPs that, as I was trying to really think about what I wanted and decide my stitching like focuses moving forward, I really do love this piece, and I really do want it finished. I love the linen I've got it on. I am going to be getting another cut of the linen just so I can send it to them, because I don't think I have enough room if they restart it at this top corner to just cut that off. And I am not frogging 5,000 stitches. That's just not going to be happening. So that is the bookcase. That is my oldest 2022 WIP. Next up in 2022, I was working on my Chatelaine. This is the Mini Mystery Mandala number 3 by Chatelaine Designs. And this is another WIP that I will definitely want to finish here in 2023. There are common phrases you hear when you watch Flosstubes, and that is, I really want to get back to this. I really want to get this finished next year. And those are just things we say, right? So we'll see what ends up happening. I do have plans of working on this in February, I think, in my stitching plans that I've sat down and made, but I did not touch this at all in 2024. So it looks the exact same as it did in my 2023 end of year WIP Parade, but I'm stitching this on 28 count mushroom Lugana by Zweigart with all the called for threads and beads, and it's beautiful. I will say this, as much as I love it and I'm very excited to have it finished, my friend Maddie of Kitty Stitch actually finished this, and it is gorgeous. This did let me know that I do not want to do a full chatelaine, even though I have one kitted up. I'm definitely going to do the mini and then be done, I think. Again, with the beads and the specialty stitches and the everything. I love just a full cross piece. Call me basic. And I'm very excited to have this on my wall, but it does need to be finished. So if I'm not mistaken, this is sitting at somewhere around 50% complete, but who knows, since it is a chatelaine. But I started this in, when did I start this? In May of 2022. All right, next up of my 7 remaining 2022 WIPs, this is Summer Quakers by Rosewood Manor. I started this was my first ever stitch along and the first project that I started after making my channel. I started this with my friends Megan, the Seattle Stitcher, and Alexis of Alexis_My Amazing World. And I'm stitching it with the called for Valdani threads. And I love this piece. I did not work on this at all in 2024 either. Unfortunately, summer was not great for me stitching wise, so it is what it is. But I am stitching mine on 28 count coastal linen by Picture This Plus with the called for Valdanis, and it is stunning. I do really, really love this piece. By my estimate, I am sitting at about 40% complete on this project. So my goal for 2024, if not to finish this, which might be a little bit too much to actually get this all the way done, is to at least get to the 75% mark next summer. So hopefully 2025 has big plans for this project, but we will see what ends up happening. I love it so much. And I've been very bad about showing project bags. So my chatelaine is in this mesh bag, and my Summer Quakers is in this gorgeous bag with Lori Holt fabric. And I've got all of my Valdanis floss dropped on Adam Hart floss bobbins for that one. So really hoping to get back to this next summer. A whole year of not working on it was rough, but again, I don't know when I would have touched this summer. Again, you can only work on so many things at a time, and other things have to fall by the wayside. Next up in 2022 was Rejoice Evermore by Brenda Gervais. I think this is the first Brenda Gervais I ever started, and I absolutely love it. I was influenced to start this when I saw it on Evertote's website. They did a full Roxy Flossco conversion for this project, and I snapped it up so quickly. This is what this project looked like at the end of 2023, and I will show you what it looks like now. In 2024 on this project, I stitched 5.7%, about 1,200 stitches in an effort to get this past the 10% mark. And I'm happy to report that I did. This is what it looks like now. I'm stitching it on 46 count porcelain linen by Roxy Flossco with the called for Evertote's color conversion. This year, I think I finished filling in the last little bit on this big flower here, and I did this entire blue star section. I would ideally like at the end of 2025 to be finished with this first full stripe and also finish the whole border. I think that would be really nice to get a sense of the size of this piece and start filling in a little bit more, but this is a big chunky sampler. So I know lots of other people who have stitched this on Flosstube, and I love it so much. I really do want it finished, but that's just the nature of these things. I'm keeping this in a project bag, also from Evertotes, and the floss ring for this is absolutely gorgeous. I love these overdyes. Roxy Floss Co. is one of my favorite overdyed cottons, up there with Color and Cotton. And I'm so excited because I'm going to be going to Stitch North this year in Canada, and I will be able to shop Roxy Floss Co. in person, and it's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. The next project I also did not touch in 2024, and that is Autumn Cloche by Hello from Liz Mathews. But this project is a focus for my friend Cam and I. So if you've been following my channel for any length of time, my friend Cameron and I stitched the Vanity Sampler by Hello from Liz Mathews this year, stitching monthly sections, and we got it done in December, which is so exciting. But we decided to switch it up a little bit for our next year's monthly stitching goal. Instead of working on one really huge project all year, we decided to pick out 2 more medium-sized projects that we wanted to finish and get those done. So Autumn Cloche is our pick for the second half of 2025, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to have this done. I bought this literally the day that it was available. It is beautiful. My friend Liz knocks it out of the park every time, but this is what it looks like. I'm stitching this on 40 count Hazelwood by Fiber on a Whim with the Roxy Floss Co. conversion. I actually, I emailed them and asked them to put together a conversion for this piece, and I think it's still up on their website for purchase if you are interested in starting this one. But I keep this project in a bag that my friend Megan sewed for me with these adorable fall motifs with the Roxy Floss Co. conversion here. Just stunning autumnal colors. And so I think we'll be picking this up in July or June. Maybe it's June. But I am very excited to get back to this one. This one is sitting at 35% complete right now, so hopefully it'll get done. I think our monthly sections on this for how much I have left to stitch are about 1,800 stitches every month, which should not be too bad. But that is Autumn Cloche. I do love this project, and I was hoping to stitch a little bit on it this year just to help that monthly number go down, but that will be a finish in 2025, so I'm not super worried about it. And my final project left over from 2022 is one that I just worked on recently, and I love this project so much. I started this in November, I believe, with my friends Megan and Alexis, and this is Christmas Garden by Blackbird Designs. This is a pattern that was out of print and was re-released in the Home for the Holidays book, and I love it so much. I did not touch this at all in 2023, so I needed to work on it in 2024, and unfortunately I didn't get as much done as I planned, but this is what it looked like, and this is what it looks like now. I am stitching this on 36 count sampler linen from Color and Cotton with my own color conversion to Color and Cotton flosses. I swapped out the gold that's called for a white, and then did it on this really beautiful gingerbready colored fabric, and I'm obsessed with it. I will say, when I started this piece, I started in the top left corner, not realizing that the linen was not cut perfectly straight. It kind of goes in. If I could restart it, I would top center it, so it would maybe be over here. But I did run a strand down the edge of the project just to see what my margin would look like. I'm not quite sure how far down it's gonna go, but the margin will get tight, but I think it'll be fine. That was an unexpected consequence. But this year I worked on this big white star, this Christmas tree, I did this reindeer, and I brought the border all the way around and down. So not too bad. I love this project so much though. I think once the days of Christmas from Hello from Liz Mathews are over, this is going to be a huge Christmas focus for me. But as of right now, my Christmas project bandwidth is taken up by Liz Mathews, which she's one of my favorite designers. She is a dear friend of mine, and I would have it no other way to have lots of Liz projects going. I am staying at about 33% complete on this, so ideally end of 2025, I'd like to be past 50. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I think I originally saw this on Pumpkin Hollow Quilts floss tube. I love the samplers that she stitches. They're beautiful, and I knew I had to do it. So that is the Christmas garden. And those are all of my 2022 WIPs. I'm thinking by the end of 2025, I should only have 2 or 3 of those left, but we will see what ends up happening. I would really love to knock out more older WIPs this year, but I'm a mood stitcher. I go by vibes, and sometimes the vibes don't line up for the older projects to get finished, but who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Okay, my oldest 2023 WIP, let's see. So I have 17 projects that I started in 2023 that are still active WIPs, plus one that I need to restart, I believe was a 2023 original. So as opposed to my 6 projects from 2022, I've got quite a bit more. But like I said, 2023, I started 50 projects. So only having 17 left from that original 50 feels pretty good, not gonna lie. I love this piece so much. This is Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird. I started this in February of 2023 with Katie, the novel stitcher, and Sarah of Sarah's Stitchy Spot. And I love this project so much. This is a beautiful sampler. I saw this originally on my friend Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitchers channel, and I started it then. I keep this one in a project keeper that my friend Carrie of Tiger Lily Designs made. I'm gonna say friend a lot because I've met a lot of really awesome people. But I keep them on Adam Hart floss drop bobbins. So they look like bobbins, but they're actually floss drops. And I've got the chart in the little pocket there. But I love this project bag so much. This keeper style is amazing when you use floss drops or floss bobbins, or floss drops that are shaped like bobbins. I'm a floss dropper. I've always been a floss dropper. That's how I live my life. But this is what Oh Joyous Day looked like at the end of 2023. And I did do a good bit on this in February, I believe, of 2024. It is such a fun project. I love it so much. This project is sitting at about 50% complete. In 2024, I did 29% of the project, about 4,000 stitches. So I believe I carried this border down across, did this whole alphabet, this whole house, this whole bird, and I think I carried some of the side border down. I think I just finished these florals on the top here. And then there is another section of alphabet underneath this, and then one more section of these flowers. So I'm hoping actually that this will be a finish in February. This is one of my February focus projects, and I'm stitching this on 40 count Nessie by Picture This Plus. I think this project is stunning on the blue linen. I know that's not what it's called for, but I feel like it still looks antiqued, but these pinks pop like crazy. I'm obsessed with it. Every time I just want to work on it more. But like I said, I got 4,000 stitches done on this project in February, and that is a good bit of stitching. There are some satin stitches like at the top of this border that will be repeated here and then also at the bottom. So that will also need to happen, and that's not counted in the full crosses remaining, but I'm set up pretty good on this project, and I cannot wait to work on it more and knock it out of the park. It is a beautiful sampler and my oldest 2023 WIP. Next up is another project that unfortunately did not get touched in 2024. This was my birthday start of 2023. This is Night Walked Down by the Blue Flower. I love this project, but I am having a little bit of a dilemma with my fabric because I don't think the white floss pops enough on it. And there are some pretty large white stitching motifs on this. So I'm not quite sure what's gonna end up happening here. But it looks the exact same as it did. I am stitching this on 40 count Elegant linen by Fortnite Fabrics with the called for Gentle Arts, and I love the piece. But again, I just don't know. I think the swan is gonna hit this light part and not this dark part. So I am debating swapping this onto a darker purple fabric. I do have some of the called for in my stash, which is by Kitten Stitcher. But I'm a little bit worried that this deep purple is going to match the fabric exactly. So I need to do a couple swatches and really sit down and think through restarting this. I only have about 1,500 stitches in the project. It is one of my 3 WIPs remaining that are under 10% complete. It's sitting at 9.8. So this is a possible restart in 2025. Definitely, I love this piece so much and I want to work on it more. It's got a cat and flowers on it. Like, what else could a girl want? But I just don't think my fabric is right. So I think that's really the holdup on this one. And yeah, but this was my birthday start of 2023. I love it so much. And I was planning on working on this for my New Year's Eve 12 by 12 this year, but I ended up working on something else. So that is that. Next up is my Manning May piece. I love this one so much. So my friends and I in 2023 started a stitch along in the month of May called Manning May, and it's just work on a Carolyn Manning piece. She does these beautiful mandala type designs, and we all wanted to work on them, and it's a fun little moniker. And so I work on this in May, and this year I got a good bit done on this project. This is what it looked like at the end of 2023, and here's what it looks like now. If I'm not mistaken, I did most of the center flower and finished wrapping the border all the way around. I am sitting now at 25% done on this project, so my goal, I think, in May of 2025 is to sit down and focus and do a full another 25%, get this past 50, and we will see if that ends up happening. I'm stitching this on a 16 count French country Aida. This is my only Aida WIP, if I'm not mistaken. We will find out if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly sure this is the only project I have going on Aida at the moment, and it is beautiful. My friend Rachel of Lemonade Stitching actually stitched this project as well, but she just stitched this first flower here and turned it into the most adorable corner-shaped bookmark. She stitched it on perforated paper, and I'm a little bit jealous that I did not do that too, because it is really a stunning way to do this project, but I love it so much. I'm stitching it in the called for DMCs, which I think are really beautiful. And the reason that I chose this Manning May is because it looks like English paper piecing. And like I said, I was a quilter before I was a cross stitcher. I've done a fair amount of English paper piecing in my day as well, and I am obsessed with it. I think it's a beautiful project. And it is a very easy stitch to work on. It's very meditative, and I love working on this in the month of May. So this is a May focused project. We will see exactly how much I can get done. I'm anticipating a good bit just because I can stitch this in hand typically, but it does suffer from that one thing I don't love about it, which is I'm using 2 strands of floss, but that's fine. I do love a loop start, so that is the one thing. I do, when I stitch with 1 strand, do a 1 strand loop start. Thank you, Lizzie, for that one. But I love that project. And, oh, I forgot project bags. Okay, Night Walk Down, I'm keeping in this project bag by Little Boat 88. They are one of my favorite project bag makers based out of Canada, and it is this gorgeous Tula Pink Lion fabric. Lion is a family name, so love having those motifs around. And then my Manning May, I'm keeping in this project by Dot Dot Goose. As you can see, without the project in there, there's not much, because I do stitch from a master set of DMC, so my DMCs don't live with my project until I'm actively working on them. I will go pull at the start of every month all the DMCs I need for the projects I'm planning to work on, so not much in there. The next one I'm keeping in a Painted Leaf Co. bag. It's one of my favorite project bags of all time. My friend Megan and I got matching ones at StitchCon in 2023, my very first StitchCon. And I'm keeping a Wavy Ride by Blackbird Designs in here. This was the StitchCon start of 2023. And it's because this chart came back into print. It was another out of print one, and I love it. This is what it looked like at the end of 2023. In 2024, I did not do a ton on this project. I only did about 300 stitches, but I was able to pull it past the 25% mark, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I am stitching this on 40 count, what is this one called? Outrageous Linen, also by Fortnite Fabrics, with the HDF silk conversion. So it is stitched in silks, which are beautiful. I highly recommend the silks for this project in particular, because the silks have a lot more contrast in the 2 border colors than the called for Gentle Arts do, but I love it. Essentially this year, I just carried this zigzag border down and around, and I finished out this bottom border here. So not much, but every little bit counts. I would like to get this project to 50% complete next year, I believe, but we will see. Fall time gets a little bit busy for me just because I have a lot of WIPs that are fall related or spooky season stitching. And like I said, I'm a mood stitcher, so I typically like to stitch on things that are in season in that season. And so my fall lineup is always really crowded, so I don't get a chance to sit down and focus as much, but I love this project so much. It's so beautiful. And shout out to Abby of Top Knot Stitcher for organizing that start that year at StitchCon. My next project I started with my friend Maddie of Kitty Stitch for her birthday. Maddie has long finished this project, but unfortunately, I have not. This is Forget Me Not by Hello from Liz Mathews. I have proportionally the most Liz Mathews charts as active WIPs of any of the designers that I stitch, and that will not be changing. Liz is my favorite designer, like I've said several times, and I love this piece. I've loved this piece for so long, and this is what it looks like now. In 2024, I have stitched, let's see, 36% of this project in 2024. I've done a good bit of stitching on it, almost 3,000. And my friends and I are doing Stream and Stitch, which is where we have picked a TV show to watch together. And I stitch on this project while I watch that TV show only. So I haven't worked on it a ton most recently. I have not stitched on this a ton very recently because I haven't had a lot of time to sit and watch this, but we are stitching to Peaky Blinders right now. So this is my Peaky Blinders project, and I only work on it when I watch Peaky Blinders. I'm set to have this done by the end of finishing the whole show. So I'm hoping to get this done in January or February. We will see how much time I can devote to Peaky Blinders, but I've been having a lot of fun working on that. I am stitching this with HDF silk conversion on 40 count flannel flower by Fox and Rabbit. This is my all-time desert island neutral fabric. If I could pick one neutral fabric to stitch everything on, it's flannel flower. As you can see, it's that perfect level of being white without being too warm or too cool, and then it has this beautiful gray that tones it down. I love a cool toned white in my stitching. This is unfortunately a project with a hanging thread. I'm trying to avoid hanging threads, but I didn't know the last time I worked on this was going to be the last time I worked on it for the year. And I keep this one in a project bag from Forbidden Fiber Co. This was from their Discovery of Witches kit. And yeah, so that's my Peaky Blinders project. I really, really love this one. And I do have this set as a focus project in January. Just for like an hour at the end of the night, plug in 200 stitches or whatever. We'll see how much I can get done. But I started that in June for Maddie's birthday. In July of 2023, I started Every Opening Flower by Brenda Gervais. I love Brenda Gervais' big samplers, and unfortunately this project also did not get any work done in 2024, so it looks the exact same. But I'm stitching this on 36 count ballet slippers linen by Fox and Rabbit with the HDF silk conversion. I love HDF silks. They make it really easy to just buy a conversion and get it done. I definitely want to work on this in 2025. I'd like to finish filling in this house at the bottom and start carrying the border around. I don't think this project will be that much work once I actually get into it. I know the most stitching is concentrated here in this house and in this big floral vase here, and then the rest of it is very light and airy. But I believe Shiloh of X Stitch MD was starting a stitch along for this when we started it, and I do really, really love this chart. So it was sad I did not get to work on this one. There just never seemed to be a moment for it as much as I love it. And that one I'm keeping in another Evertotes project bag. This one is this gorgeous red hearts one. I like their all fabric project bags because I can put them in my car. Living in Texas, I can't keep vinyl front project bags in my car for any length of time because they will start melting. But this is the floss ring for that one. It is looking a little bit of a mess because it's all tangled and it's been in there uninterrupted for a year. But they're beautiful colors. And the Vicky Clayton silks are usually a pretty good 1-for-1 color conversion. The next project I worked on a little bit in 2024. This was a project I was trying to get above the 10% mark. And this is 'Tis the Season from Blackbird Designs. This is another project out of the Home for Holidays book, Home for the Holidays book, and I started this with Caitlin of Cross Stitch Kate in July, and I had an abysmal start on this project. So I worked on it a little bit more. I filled in a lot of the cardinal and some of the branches, and just did a little bit. I'm stitching this on 40 count Billie Jean linen by Roxy Floss Co. with a stash conversion of Forbidden Fiber Co. flosses. Caitlin is also stitching it on a blue fabric with a stash conversion. We both brightened up the colors just a little bit, and it was a fun way to use some stash flosses and do a fun little challenge that way. This is in the first project bag I ever made myself, and it is not very well made, but that's fine. But I do really enjoy this project. I only stitched, I think, a couple hundred stitches on this, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I did 800 stitches on this year. So not too bad, and I was able to carry it past the 10% mark. I like to group my goals by percentage that I'm trying to hit. That is a very effective strategy for me, and that is something that my friend Elizabeth, the Frizzy Lizzy Stitches, introduced me to this year with a homemade notion formula that she made that revolutionized the way I stitch. So shout out to Elizabeth, thank you girl. And it is very fun to just try, and when I pull it out, hit that next percentage mark. Sometimes it doesn't work, because obviously with the bigger projects, it takes more stitches to get to a higher percentage goal, but it's a fun way to kind of look at it and see how everything's going. So the next project that I worked on in 2024 was At Home by Brenda Gervais. I am keeping this one in a little Boat 88 project bag that is beautiful. And I love this project so much. I wanted to get more done on this year, but I didn't, and that's fine. But I started this at the end of July of 2023, and this is what it looks like now. So in 2024, I did this entire inline border up to here, and I started working, this might be upside down, I'm not actually quite sure, I will figure that out later. But I did a good bit of this outside border. So I think this is one of those pieces that I'm going to finish the entire border before I move on to the interior, but it is very fun. It's the only project I ever started on the bottom left instead of, or bottom right instead of top left. I'm usually a top left or a top center starter, but I love it. This is a 36 count fabric that I dyed myself using coffee and some various Rit dyes over that, and it turned out beautifully. But it is a very loose weave, so it is a very big project, but that's fine. There is a section of over one stitching in this one, so having it on an open linen will be very useful when it comes to that. But this is another really big sampler, so it doesn't get a lot of work, but I love it so much. I really do love this chart. And hopefully in 2025, I can maybe get that to 25% complete. And then I think that's going to be a focus for a finish in 2026 for me. I think it's just a little bit too big for me to actually try and get it done in 2025 with my Days of Christmas goals and my other stuff. So the next project is one that is up for restarting in 2025. This is the Mill House by Kathy Barrick. I love this chart. And when I first saw it, I immediately pictured a scene from Outlander, which is one of my favorite shows and one of my favorite book series. And there's a scene at a mill in that show. And so I decided I was going to kind of rechart this and make this an Outlander themed sampler, kind of change the bottom to say Lally Rock instead of the Mill House. And I love it. So when I started this is what I got done. This is on 40 count Verdal by Be Stitch Me in Not Another Sampler or Peanut, one of the two. And I just got this little owl done. I have not finished my full recharting of this yet. That is a goal for me in the next couple of weeks. But with the new season of Outlander that has started, I haven't watched it yet because I've been too nervous. I want to restart this and stitch on it while we watch Outlander. So that is the goal for this project. I want to restart it though because I don't love working on this fabric. I'm just not an even weave person. I much more enjoy linen, and I actually think this project is really good for stitching in hand. So I'd like to switch this over to a 36 count linen and restart it. I've only got about 500 stitches on a project right now. So it's not too great a loss to sit there and restart, but this is a long, skinny project and I just love it so much. And Kathy is so sweet and another one of my favorite designers. So that is the mill house. That is my Outlander project. I have nicknamed this the Lallybrock sampler in my head, but I need to finish my recharting. I'm going to change, there's a crane here into a giant thistle and add Jamie's shirt onto the mill wheel. And then I'm not sure if I'm gonna stitch all the animals that are in the water, but I love this project. So this one needs a lot of work and it will be a restart in 2023. So technically it's marked as paused on my Notion right now. It's not an active WIP. I haven't worked on this in a long time, but I think once we finish once we finish watching Peaky Blinders, I think we're gonna be watching Outlander for our stream and stitch. So hopefully that will give me a chance to catch back up on this project and then watch the new season of Outlander. The next project is one of my favorites. Oh, the Outlander one, I'm keeping in an Outlander themed project bag from Forbidden Fiber Co. I got this with a small kit of theirs and it is just a beautiful bag. Okay, with that, we've actually cleared out the first WIP bucket, which is very exciting. So we will be moving on to the second bin of project bags, which probably means we've about hit the halfway point. How you doing? You doing good? If you've been stitching while watching my WIP Parade, I'd love for you to tell me what you're working on. I always find it so fun. I know Michelle Bendy always does like a WIP Parade progress hashtag so that you can tag her in before and after photos of what you got done during her WIP Parade. If you end up doing that with mine, please tag me. I love seeing those. I know a few people have done that over the years of me making these. These are a big undertaking. I feel like I've been talking for a while. Well, about an hour actually so far. Hanging in there. Okay, next up, my final July start. July was the biggest starting month I had in 2023, and so I'm still dealing with a lot of July consequences. But this project I love so much. This is Jack's Bash by Plum Street Samplers. And I was inspired to start this after seeing it on Katie of So Tattered and Olivia Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. They were both stitching this, I believe. It is beautiful. I am making some modifications to the chart. So this is what it looked like at the end of 2023. And this is what it looks like now. I love it. So this chart originally has 3 sections. You've got your alphabet, there's a strip of people, and then the over one verse at the bottom. I trimmed that middle section and then shortened the side borders. And I feel like this is a mock-up of it. I feel like it still captures the beauty of the whole piece, but cuts out a good bit of stitching for me and a part that I didn't love as much as I love the rest of it. But I absolutely adore this chart. I'm stitching this on 36 count millstone linen by LFA Linens, and it is a beautiful linen. I'm thinking this is actually going to be the fabric that I use for restarting the mill house, if I'm not mistaken, because it's just a joy to work with, and the tone is very antiqued but not too warm. Anyway, I love this project. This year I believe I stitched this pumpkin all the way down and finished this interior chain border. I'm not 100% sure. I think I also did more of this alphabet. This was a couple of months ago, I'm not really sure. But I love this piece. In 2024, I did 18% of the project. It is currently sitting at 53% done, and I did about 2,100 stitches on it this year. This project is just so easy. Every time I pick it up, it feels like I get tons of progress without spending a ton of time on it, and I love that. So definitely gonna try and get to 75%, if not a full finish on it this year, because a good bit of the stitching is in grass fill-in here at the bottom. And so I think I can knock that out pretty easily. So definitely finishing this border down and across, filling in the grass, and then we'll see if I make it to the over one verse. That's probably gonna be the hardest part. We will see. I love this so much, so much. And I just have a little bit more alphabet to finish down in that strip. But that is Jack's Bash. I started this one with my friend Megan, the Seattle stitcher. Megan, I think, is doing this one on 32 count linen with 1 strand, and it is absolutely beautiful. But this one is a 1 strand on 36 as well. If I don't say it, it's 1 strand, because like I said, I'm a 1-stranded stitcher. It is beautiful. I know a lot of people struggle with 1-stranded coverage, and I will say it is something you have to stick with. This black house, as I was stitching it, I thought it looked terrible. But when you sit and peel it back and look at it like this, it's stunning. The coverage is great. You just have to let it sit. It's a trust the process situation. But again, I am a mix of a process and product stitcher. So product stitcher is you're stitching something because you want it on your wall, and a process stitcher is you're stitching it because you love the act of working on it. And I find that I am a mix of the two. I have friends who are one and friends who are the other, but I want to enjoy the process of working on it, but I usually also can envision a product like on my walls. There have been a couple things that have finished that are kind of like random and not really my style, but I find that once you splice it all together, it still looks good. Whether it's, you know, a Quaker or a more primitive thing or something with a little bit more color or something very antique, it still all looks good together in my head, because at the end of the day, it's all stitching. And I want a wall one day that is just hodgepodge stitching, and I'm gonna get there. But that moves us into another sampler. This was my back to school Sal start. My friend Lauren, the New Hampshire stitcher, started a stitch along called the Baptist School Sal. BAP stands for Big Ass Project, and I love it. It's starting something that's huge, and this project isn't necessarily the most dense, but stitch count wise, like, it is pretty wide and pretty tall. I saw this model at the Attic in Arizona, and I had to kit it up. The colors are beautiful. It is an Italian reproduction sampler, and this is in the Butterfly's Garden. I love this project so much. This is what it looked like at the end of 2023. I did work on this for a bit in 2024, but again, not quite as much as I would have wanted. Sampler September did not go super well for me. Like I said, August and September were not great stitching months for me, and so it just kind of fell to the wayside a little bit. But this is what it looks like now. This year I went through and I did some more of this top border, and I believe I did all the letters from the C over on both rows. And it is beautiful. Like I said, the colors in this project are amazing. This is a bigger project, so I did keep the DMC with it. Not for my master set. This is my project bag that I keep Jack's Bash in. The chart isn't in there. I don't know what I did with it, but gorgeous cats from Little Boat 88. And In the Butterfly's Garden is in this purple floral bag. And I actually keep all of my floss drops for this one in a floss keeper from Tiger Lily Designs. She has a pattern for these, but this is one that I bought that she sewed. So this is the floss palette. The beautiful pinks, mauves, olive greens, blues, golds, and purple. I just love it. So all my floss drops are in there, along with my chart. And I just love this piece. I really do. It's so pretty. So that is In the Butterfly's Garden. I want to focus on this in September of next year and really crack down and try and get the full width of the piece on there, and then start working the borders all the way around. This piece is just border and alphabet, which I love a good piece with an alphabet. I didn't used to. I actually used to hate pieces with alphabets, but again, your vibes change, your tastes change. And the way that I stitch now is not the way that I used to stitch, and that's fine. This next one is another project I intend to finish in 2025. This is Pink Sparrow Sampler by Brenda Gervais. I saw this on Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch and the New Hampshire Stitchers channels, and I loved it. I started this with Lindsay of Cat Fern Cross Stitch and Caitlin of Cross Stitch Kate back in September of 2023. And this year I only did about 1,000 stitches on the project. This is what it looks like now. I think I did the center bird. So I don't have a ton left on this, and I am anticipating getting this finished in, I think in April is when I've slotted this in my kind of overview of when I plan on working on things. But like I said, this could pop up at any time. This is a beautiful piece. I'm stitching on 36 count Edinburgh linen in the color Winter Moon by Zweigart. And I am using a I'm using a partial stash conversion. I bought most of the called fors, but I couldn't get my hands on a few. So I pulled from my color and cotton stash to finish this one out. I'm keeping this in a gorgeous teacups bag from Little Boat 88. And this is my floss ring. So I brightened up the blue and the purple, and I believe I brightened up this orange from the called for as well. This is just a fun little sampler. I think it's so cute, and it's such an easy stitch. It's by far, I think, the smallest Brenda Gervais piece I've ever worked on. And I love it so, so much. So that's Pink Sparrow Sampler. Definitely will be a finish at the end of 2025. I will be shocked if it's not the case. But again, I've been proven wrong before. You can't essentially hold me to anything I say in a WIP parade because I'm enamored by the stitching and the colors, and I can't be held responsible for plans that I make when I'm just looking at beautiful things. I love it. I love it. The next piece is another very close to a finished project. I'm not even gonna bother putting this one on a board because it's small. But this is Pumpkin House by Hello from Liz Mathews. I started this in September of 2023, and I'm keeping this in a project bag from Jen of Jasmine Custom Bags. I love her small size bags. They're amazing. And I mean, pumpkins, tooled leather, had to do this. But this project, I'm stitching on, well, this is what it looked like last time you saw it. This is a two-toned fabric piece. So you stitch on the top half on one fabric and the bottom half on another, and then you sew them together to get the finished product. And so at the end of 2023, I had finished the bottom half, which is on 36 count Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. It's this beautiful pumpkin patch. And so this year I wanted to start and get very close to finishing the top half, which I am stitching on 36 count Topaz linen, also by Fiber on a Whim. I wanted same count, same dyer, and it is stunning. I'm using a Forbidden Fiber Co. conversion on this one, and I didn't have anything started on this blue piece at the beginning of this year. So I got all of that done this year. I just have the house left. So I'm about almost 2/3 in, I think, of the whole total project. And I've got enough that I can knock this finish out, I'm hoping, in September of next year. We will see. But it is beautiful. So one strand, 36 count for that piece as well. This Forbidden Fiber Co. conversion was put together by Carrie of Tiger Lily Designs, and it is very fun. So that is the Pumpkin House. I'm looking forward to the challenge of learning how to sew the two fabrics together. My friend Maddie of Kitty Stitches finished that piece. I think she finished it this year. And so I'm gonna let her sew them together first and then let me know how it is. But I love it so, so much. Okay, next up is a project that I'm keeping in just an Amazon bag. This is another one I wanted to work on in 2024, but I didn't touch it at all. This is Dark Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife. I love the Artsy Housewife, and when I first saw this piece, I was enamored with it. The colors are beautiful, the floss ring is stunning, and I have an abysmal start on this project. I wanted to get this past 10% this year, but I ran out of days. So I'm stitching this on 40 count Barnwood by Picture This Plus with the called for fancy flosses. And it looks the exact same. I didn't even get the hanging thread tied in. So that is my feeling on this one. I have several Artsy Housewife started and I love them all so much. I just have too many autumnal pieces and I could not quite eke out enough days to get this one touched as well, especially since this one does require my big light and a little bit more concentration with how deep the fabric is, but it is a stunning choice. Like, I had to. So that's this one. Hopefully this will get a good bit of progress next year. It is bigger than it looks. So I think there's still about 13,000 stitches left on this project to get it done. So I'm hoping to get it to about the quarter mark next year. We will see what ends up happening, but it at least has to get touched next year. I know that. And then on the same offcut of fabric, I actually started Boost Boot Haunt by Hello from Liz Mathews. This was a Patreon chart when it was released, but it has since been released as a normal chart, if I'm not mistaken, and I am doing a color conversion on this. This is what my color conversion looks like. Essentially, I changed the flower colors into shades of pink, purple, and orange instead of the more prim colors that are in there. And I'm stitching this on 40 count barnwood as well. This was the whole fat quarter. I cut off this chunk for this piece and used the other chunk for the other piece, and that's the whole cut. So this year I didn't do a ton on this. I worked on this on Halloween, and I filled in the rest of this ghost and started in on the next 2 flowers, just because I wanted to see some of my colors in there. It is stunning. If you want to see this project with more done on it, you can go check out my friend Cam of Cam the Stitchers WIP Parade. It is, in fact, a beautiful piece. Actually, I don't know if Cam's WIP Parade, but she worked on it semi-recently, so. It is so beautiful. I love it so much. So yeah, this definitely want to work on it again more. I really only worked on it like 2 days over the course of the whole WIP, and it's not that big, but it is what it is. The next project I'm keeping, oh, that one, Boost Boucant, is in this little Boat 88 bag that is Halloween and gorgeous. But my next project is in a bag that I made myself. And this is one of the second project bags I ever made. I'd like to make them a little bit bigger than this now. But this has 2 WIPs that live in here from the same series. I had originally had them both as WIPs, but I decided to put one on pause until I'd finished the other, just so it would be a little bit nicer. And unfortunately, I didn't work on this one at all in 2024 either. This is the Woodpecker by Cottage Garden samplings. I started this with my friend Marjorie of Marjorie Made and Caitlin of Cross Stitch Kate in 2023, and I'm stitching it on 40 count Legacy by by Picture This Plus, and it looks the exact same. But I love this project. I love this series, and I also have the little brown bat in this project bag with not a ton of progress, but I figured I needed to focus on one before I stitched the other. And I have some pretty fond memories of woodpeckers up at my grandparents' cabin in Arizona, in the mountains, and so it reminds me of them, and so I really wanted to stitch the woodpecker. But I didn't touch it at all this year. Ugh. That's fine. These projects are also deceptive. This whole series looks like it's so tiny and easy to crank out, but once you get into it, it's a lot of stitching. I finished the Fox earlier this year, and I have all 12. I was part of the auto ship for this series the Top Knot Stitcher did, so I do love it, and I do want to stitch more of these charts, but just haven't made it around to it yet. Very autumnal, but my November got filled up real fast with other stitching, so it didn't quite get worked on. Okay, next up, I keep in a project bag I made myself. This is Sarah Moon 1791. If you've been watching my channel at all recently, you've seen this project quite a bit. This is my full moon stitch. So Cam, Megan, Marjorie, and I all have this project as an active WIP, and we try to work on it on the full moon of every month. It doesn't always happen, and for me, I had a lot of reworking that I did on this project this year with the colors and the size of the piece. My friend Cam did a full color conversion, so if you want something brighter, definitely go check hers out. I am stitching with the HDF silks that are a 1-for-1 to the called for, but I love this piece so much. This is what it looks like now. I'm stitching it on 40 count Dirt Track Linen by Fox and Rabbit, and it is beautiful. I am sitting at just over 10% done on this project. I did not pick it up in December, but this project went through a whole gamut of stuff this year. So my goal in 2025 is to touch it every month with the goal of getting at least 500 stitches on it. And we will see where that takes me, but the colors are beautiful. I want to see more of them pop in so I can start to see the full effect of the piece. There's a lot of colors in this one. And honestly, if I was doing it again, I'd probably just do the DMC just so I could change them out a little bit easier, but that's fine. It's a gorgeous piece. I did have Beatrix Potter, also by Stitchy Box Samplers, another big Quaker started at the end of last year, but I did decide to UFO that one. I really can only devote my time to one big Quaker at a moment, and this is the one that I chose. So that is Sarah Moon, that is the full moon stitch, and fingers crossed I can keep up with that in 2025 now that I've done all the thinking that piece requires. I started that in November of 2023, And we only have one more 2023 WIP left to talk about. This is my New Year's Eve start of 2023. So if you've not heard of a 12 by 12, I think it was started by Pam and Steph of Just Keep Stitching, but it is on New Year's Eve for the 11 hours leading up to the new year, and the first hour of the new year, you work on 12 different projects. And so I did it the true way my first time. But last year I wanted to try doing a monogamous 12 by 12, or a 1 by 12 as it were, like my friend Elizabeth the Frizzy Lizzy Stitches does. And so I started Margaret Hull by Quaint Rose Needle Arts. This is what it looked like at the end of my 12 by 12. I got about 1,300 stitches done on it, and I loved it. I don't even know if it was part of my WIP Parade last time, so because I think I filmed my WIP Parade before the end of the year. Schwoops. But I love this project. In 2024, I did work on it a good little bit. I'm stitching this on 36 count. What am I stitching this on? Oh, this is 36 count Dirty Porcelain Linen by Roxy Flosco with all the called for DMCs. I love the bird on this chart, and I worked more, I think I filled in the rest of the bird and worked more on his tail. And I would like to finish this in 2025. I don't have that much stitching left on it. And I am omitting the satin stitch border around the whole piece. I really like how open and airy this project is. Once the bird and the branch he's sitting on is done, it's not a lot of stitching left. So I'm very anxious to get this finished. I think it's beautiful. And the DMCs are gorgeous. So I love this funky little bird. He was my New Year's Eve companion last year, but this year I didn't work on him a ton, just a couple thousand stitches, I think. No, just 1,600. I didn't do that much on it this year, but he was touched. So with that, that is all 17 of my 2023 WIPs. Now, of the 19 or 20 of the things I started this year, the number is confusing because of the days of Christmas. Of the things I started this year that are remaining in 2024 or going back into 2025. Wow, words are hard when you've been talking for an hour and a half. I have 11 remaining 2024 WIPs going into 2025. So not a ton. I'm feeling pretty okay with that number. I did get a good bit of things finished this year too, but we are almost there. Margaret Hull, I keep in this project bag from the 805 Stitcher, I think. It's got these little binoculars on the zipper pull, and the inside are stamps. It's such a cute bag. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's wrap this sucker up. So, first remaining WIP from 2024, I started in March. March, I went to market with my friend, hello from Liz Mathews. I helped her work her booth, and it was so much fun. I had an amazing time. I got to meet a lot of people, and my friend Cam and I were there together, and we kind of got this insane haze took over our eyes, and we went nuts. And so March was a really hard month for me because I wanted to start everything. But this is the piece that we both saw and fell in love with, and that is Caught in the Swirl by Kathy Barrick. Kathy ended up gifting us the chart while we were there, which was so incredibly kind of her. I keep this one in a bag that Cam gave me at that market trip, which is this gorgeous Ruby Star Cat's fabric, I think. But we are both stitching it with the called for DMCs. I'm stitching this on 40 count travertine linen by Color and Cotton, and this is what it looks like. There will be no progress photos for these 2024 starts since they were started this year, but I did a good bit on this project. I worked on it for 4 days this year, and I did about 1,500 stitches, and I would like to get this past 50 next year, if not fully finish it, but it is a good bit of stitching. It's a lot of green, but I think this piece is just so fun and funky, and I haven't seen a whole lot like it. So I got this first full branch here done and the B&H. I do want to work more on this. Cam has more done than me, I believe, and it's so fun. It's so fun, and it comes with a little pin cushion in the chart as well. I not like a finished pin cushion, but like a pin cushion pattern that has a similar vibe if you want to do this but on a smaller scale. But we started Caught in the Swirl together as our little market start, and that was very fun. Then I started by Boomerang Stitches, My Flowers. This is another March start. This one is beautiful. It reminds me of vintage Pyrex. I love it so much. I am stitching this also on travertine. Yes, on the same cut of fabric, using the called for DMCs with one swap. I think I swapped out the pink, but this is my start on it. I have this as an anticipated finish in the month of February. I believe I am sitting at 29% done on the project, so just need to work a little bit more. This should be a pretty fast finish once I get there, but it is beautiful. They did such a good job designing this. So that one is there. Another March start. March was bad for me, guys. I got this, like I said, this like haze took over and I blacked out and I started a bunch of things. This is a project that I've wanted to start for forever. I saw this on both my friend Alexis of Alexis_My_Amazing_Worlds channel and on Sarah of Sarah Stitchery, formerly of Stitchy Friends. She just released her WIP Parade, by the way. I love watching her WIP Parades. They're always really long and she has really good projects. But this is the Things Unseen sampler by Lizzie Kate. And I love this chart. I've loved this chart for forever. It's a 3-part mystery sampler. And I'm keeping this in a project bag that my friend Cam sent to me on Etsy, and I bought it immediately from Shiva Designs. Like, this fabric was made for me. I love it so much. It's a cheater print that looks like a quilt. The colors are amazing and the sampler is amazing. I'm stitching it with all the called for flosses. I bought the floss pack and the bead pack because there are a couple beads in this one. And I'm stitching it on 36 count. What am I stitching it on? Nantucket from Color and Cotton. This is the progress. I want to do a lot more on this chart next year. It's just it's a beautiful sampler. I love it so much. The font is just so adorable and funky, as are most Lizzie Kate fonts, but I love it so much. So definitely want to do more on this one. The border is so easy to stitch because it's just these repeating lines, and so it's easy to stitch it in hand. I love the little sheep at the bottom. I love this chart. So that was another March start. I think this piece is sitting at about 16% done, so definitely trying to get it to 50 next year, I think. So like I said, my friend Cam and I are planning on doing 2 different projects as our yearly stitch next year. And we decided to keep in the theme of Liz Mathews because we did Vanity Sampler this year and we've got Autumn Close slotted in for the second half of the year. But for the first half, we're gonna be stitching Secret Garden by Hello from Liz Mathews. This is I don't think this has been fully released yet. This was a Patreon chart that came out. And there's 2 colorways, a muted version and a brighter version. I think we're both stitching the muted version. I could be wrong. But I love this chart so much. It's so dainty and beautiful. And I'm stitching it on 40 count buttermilk linen by Fiber on a Whim? No, Color and Cotton. This was a Color and Cotton piece. Another one with a hanging thread, but that's fine. So this is going to be 5 months of the year. Hopefully we will finish it in May. And I cannot wait to have this done. My friend Elizabeth sent me this adorable frame that you pop a hoop into because it's a circular finish. I don't have a lot of circular finishes, so I'm very excited about it. But this year I got the bird done, or most of the bird done. Not all of it, but a good chunk. So it's sitting at about 12% complete. So just gotta work the rest of it. I think my monthly sections are about 1,800 stitches on this one, so this will be pulled out, honestly, probably later today. I gotta go pull the rest of the DMCs, and I'm so excited to work on this one more. Liz knocked it out of the park. I think she even on her Patreon included a design with me video where she walked you through her process of designing this piece and choosing the colors, and it is absolutely stunning. You killed it on this one, Liz, and I cannot wait to work on this and get it done in May. So that is the plan for that one. Then I started for my friend Megan's birthday, a piece that we had bought together that we love, and this is Remember Me by Teresa Koget. I love this shirt so much. We both bought this when it came out at Market a couple years ago. but we never started it. The Secret Garden I'm keeping in this Painted Leaf Co. plant bag, and Remember Me is in a Cricklewood Crossing bag that I picked up at StitchCon. It is the stiffest bag I own and I love it so much, but it's got these Jane Austen silhouettes on it. Absolutely adore that project bag. But I got this to about 11% complete. This is about when I started my percentage goal situation. I love this chart so much, but it is a honker. It is huge. So all of this stitching, like 3,000 stitches, was to get it past 10%. So I don't have super lofty goals for this one next year. I'm just hoping to get it past 25, I think, is where I'm sitting. Maybe finish out the top floral border and start on the interior. I know that big brick house is gonna take up a lot of stitching, but I am stitching this on, is it 36 or 40? This one is on 40 count, Not Another Sampler by Bestitch Me. Beautiful. And I'm stitching it with the HCF silk conversion that she made for this chart. So also in silks, very close to the called for. I love that big center flower. Is that not beautiful? I think the linen I might have chosen might be a little bit pink, but that's okay. I think Megan will approve of a pinker fabric. So we started that together for her birthday, and I will probably work on it again on her birthday of this year. I'm not quite sure where I have it slotted in the lineup of focus projects, but because I sorted everything out. So we'll see what ends up getting there. That will be part of my 2025 plans video. Next up was my StitchCon start of this year, and all of my friends and I decided to start different projects together with the same theme, and that was really fun. So we all started Biscornus. A Biscornu is a small little pin cushion that you sew together, slightly rotated, so it ends up with this really cool shape. And I'm keeping this one in a project bag that my friend Maddie of Kitty Stitch made for me. She killed it with this project bag. It is so cute. She made us all matching ones with these sewing machines and everything. And this is a focus on a finish for me in January. I'm going to take this up to work and let it be my lunch break project, my lunch hour stitch. And I've got a zipper charm on there that I also got at StitchCon from Sarah of Sarah's Stitchery. And I love it so much. It's beautiful. So this project is sitting at about 25% complete, I think. And this is what I got done this year. This is on 40 count, Not Another Sampler. Yeah, 40 count, Not Another Sampler linen by Bestitch Me. I struggled with the fabric for this one, but this is the Love to Stitch Biscornu. Wow, I don't think I said that. The Love to Stitch Biscornu by Cosford Rise Stitchery. This is stunning. It's a Biscornu that's all stitching notions. Maddie started the same one, but everybody else started different ones. I know Elizabeth just recently finished hers, which was a Satsuma Street one, I think. Cam did one from Bendy Stitchy, and Marjorie did, which one did Marjorie do? Was hers a Tiny Modernist? I'm not quite sure, but we all started Biscornus together. So this is an anticipated finish for me. It's not a very big project. I have about 3,000 stitches left, and I'm gonna knock that out in January and hopefully get that FFO'd. The goal was to get it done by StitchCon of next year, so I definitely think I'll hit that. But it is just the most adorable little stitching themed Biscornu. So if you wanna see this fully finished, go check out my friend Maddie of Kitty Stitch's channel. It's gorgeous. My next WIP I adopted at StitchCon. I actually reached out to my friend Elizabeth of Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch when she mentioned in one of her videos that she was going to get rid of this piece, and I was like, can I have what you've stitched? And so she actually ended up giving me the chart and her flosses and her partially stitched piece, which I've got right here. So I'm stitching this as called for on 36 count. I want to say this is Winter Moon by Zweigart. I'm not 100% sure. It's 36 count, and I'm doing it with one strand. So Elizabeth had done a good bit of this, and then I carried in the words and the border all the way around. So I haven't done a ton on this yet, but I love this project. I think this is slotted in for September for me next year. It's not very big. I also didn't say what this was. Wow, we're starting to lose the plot, guys. This is the Stitcher's Resolution. I'll show the full picture by Heartstring Samplery. I love this project. I really do. And I'd had it on my wish list before Elizabeth was going to get rid of it because I saw it in one of her WIP parades. So it's really cool to see a project that you love in a WIP parade and then it ends up in your hands for you to finish. So this is a very easy project to work on. I love it so, so much. So thanks, Liz. I'm taking good care of it, but it's not quite finished yet. But I love a good cross stitch about cross stitching. And that one is really adorable. The next, we are almost there. We've got like 3 projects left. Or maybe 4. Either way, we're getting there. The next project is one that I started knowing I was not going to get a ton done on it, and that's fine. But this was for Maddie's birthday this year. This is Turkish Delight by Rosewood Manor. And I fell in love with this project when Evertotes did a color conversion. So this project is charted on a hot pink fabric with a lot of shades of blue. And Roxy Flosco put together this conversion on a cream fabric with like mauves and weird greens, and I love it so much. So anyway, I'm stitching the Roxy Flosco conversion for this chart. But Cam and Maddie, who I started it with, are stitching it on hot pink as well. Maddie put together a painstaking color conversion at Keepsakes over StitchCon, and Cam, I think, pulled a stash conversion together. But I knew I was not going to get past 10% on this one. I have the teeny tiniest start, and this is on 36 count linen. The piece will fit perfectly on a fat quarter of 36. So that's my teeny tiny little start. But I will show you, I've got this in an Evertote project bag that I bought when I bought the conversion. And these are the colors. Tell me those are not beautiful and not something I would have picked out myself, but I love it. So I can't wait to work on this more in 2025. But honestly, I'm not sure if it's going to be a 2025 focus either. I'd like to focus on some older pieces first, but Maddie is plugging along beautifully at this. I think my like light goal on this, not super heavy, is just to have the alphabet at the top done, which I don't think will be too hard because again, 1 strand 36 stitching is so easy to do in hand for me. So, and with these letters, it's a good bit of fill in. So we will see what ends up happening with this one. I don't have a lot of strict plans for it, but when Maddie and Cam were starting it and I had it kitted up, it was kind of like, why not start it? You know what I mean? And then to round out the last 3 projects we have to talk about, I have Weeds and Wildflowers from the Artsy Housewife. This was a box that I pre-ordered from Evertotes with the full Evertotes color conversion. This was a sal for Caroline of Evertotes' 50th birthday. And I love this piece so much. This is the called for flosses. I bought the box, so it came with the called for flosses, the called for fabric, a needle minder, and the chart, along with some other goodies. It was a very great box. I do love the boxes that Evertotes puts together. I think they do a really good job with it. So I got 40 count linen, and this is in the shade Buttermilk, I think? Buttercup. So I got the 40 count linen, and this was my start on it this year. This is sitting at about 16% done. I want to take this with me to Stitch North since it is an Evertotes color conversion and work on it more there. We will see what ends up happening. Ideally, I'd like to finish it this year, but I am more okay with just saying 50%. It's another one of those deceptive projects where it looks a lot smaller than it actually is, but it is so much fun to work on. I think I pulled this out in like a day and got a good chunk finished. So this is a really, really fun one. And then because I love the Artsy Housewife, I started another one. This is another August of 2024. And this one is all the fault of my friends Cam and Marjorie. They were starting this one, and when 2 of your friends are starting a chart that you want to stitch, it's kind of hard to say no. So I put together a color conversion for A Study in Nature. This is a beautiful chart that's stitched on a red fabric, and I love it so much, but I had this color palette from a different Liz Mathews chart that I wasn't sure if I was actually going to stitch that chart, but I loved the colors from it. So I decided to pull the color palette from that Liz Mathews chart into this one, and I made a mock-up of it. This is what it looks like, and it is stunning. And this project was so much fun. I was working on it so hard I couldn't put it down. This is where I got to. I am unsure if I'm gonna do the motifs at the top and bottom or just the butterfly, but for just the butterfly, I am about 25% of the way through the chart, and it is so addictive. Now, I did do a 1-for-1 color chart, meaning I plugged in a color to a symbol, but after that, I did do some kind of individual changing around for motifs. And so it's not a true 1-to-1 color conversion, but I do have that color conversion, the base of it, posted on my last progress picture of this on my Instagram. So if you are interested in that color conversion using those Liz Mathews colors, like what I subbed for what, for the most part, that's accurate. But like I said, I went in here and I did this blue and the body instead of the gold that it would have been. I subbed around some of the colors in these tulips. So it's a mostly 1-for-1 color conversion, but also just kind of like what I'm feeling in the moment for that motif is kind of what's happening here. But this is 40 count green tea linen, white tea linen from Color and Cotton. It's a cream color that has a little bit of a green undertone. It's very subtle, but it's very pretty. So this is perfect for this chart. I'm obsessed with it, and I'd like to get this to 50% next year. I love the Artsy Housewife. Her charts are so beautiful, and she's actually so nice. So that brings us to our final WIP we are taking into 2025. We're almost there. This was a Patreon impulse start, as are most of my Liz Mathews charts, because she knocks it out of the park every time. And this is Plaid Bird. And you might be saying, Brijin, you have other projects with bluebirds. Yes, I do, but not like this. This project with the geometric borders and the bluebird and these beautiful fall oranges and blues. It's so scrumptious. I love it so much. So I started this, I'm sitting at 18% done. I did about 1,200 stitches in like the 2 days I worked on it and knocked out this first section here. I love it so much. Oh, it's so beautiful. And on 40 count, it's gonna be like a little 5-inch square. It's like perfect. So that was an impulse start I do not regret. And that was one of my final starts of the year. Everything else I started in 2024, I ended up finishing. So October was the last time I'm carrying a WIP into 2025. And that is the lineup. So that is every project that I'm carrying into the new year. I've looked at this pile, I've analyzed it, and I do think everything here is something that I do want to work on or I want the finish of. Again, with the exception of passing around the bookcase and getting that project back with 1 strand of stitching, which I'm very excited about. That is everything. So I do want to kind of close out this video. If you've made it this far, I'm still impressed. Go ahead and leave me a sparkle emoji if you've made it to this point in the video. But I've got a little bit more, nothing too crazy, but I do want to walk you through the couple of projects that I decided to UFO this year, that I decided I did not want to finish, and kind of my reasoning. It's not all the projects that I'm not taking into the next year, but certainly the last batch that I kind of cut and culled. So I figured I would give you an explanation on those. I'm not going to get rid of them yet, so if you want to adopt them from me, hold off. I'm going to sit on them for a little bit, but they are projects that I've taken out of rotation, and I don't think I'll be inserting back. So the first project that I am UFOing this year, oh, you guys are gonna be so mad at me for this. This is my Mirabilia. This is at the Met. I started this in January. It was my New Year, New Start of 2023, I believe, or 2022, one of the two. But I'm keeping this in a project keeper that I made myself out of this adorable teacup fabric with all the DMCs in there. And the reason that I'm not working on this is a little bit the linen and a little bit the process. But I dyed this fabric myself. This is the first fabric I ever dyed. And this is what the project looks like right now. I'm obsessed with this fabric. I think it's beautiful, but I chose a 28 count even weave, and it is so thick. I can barely see the holes. I don't enjoy touching it. I don't enjoy working on it. And for that reason, I'm UFOing this. There's too much still to be stitched for me to enjoy the process of it. And also the chart is a nightmare. These charts are huge and they take up so much space, and I have switched over to mostly digital charts or have imported scans of my physical charts into my tracking app, and I just find it really difficult to stitch from a paper pattern that is the size of my kitchen table. So call it controversial or whatever. If this is your thing, I love that for you. I know there are people who entirely stitch these, but the process of it, I just don't enjoy, and it's why I don't reach for this. So I am going to be cutting that. I also did not measure my fabric correctly when I dyed it, and so my margin is only going to be like this big, and that's just so little margin for a project this big. So I just have not found a rhythm with it. I've worked on it a couple times and I have enjoyed working on it in the past, but the process is just not great. And as you can see, I have so many other things I want to work on that this just has not gotten the pull to work on it in the last year. I don't think I've worked on this at all in 2024, and I honestly really haven't missed it. So that's why it's up for the chopping block this year. So I am anticipating giving this away at some point. I need to sit on it a little bit longer before I give it up, but that is my decision to UFO that one. I know you guys are gonna be so sad. I always get so many comments about the fabric that I dyed for this one, and I do love it so much. It's a beautiful fabric. I just used RIT dyes, but I just don't enjoy the process of working on it. And if it was smaller and I could knock out the finish, I would, but there's just still so much to be done, and I don't want to work on it. So that's that one. The second one that I decided to UFO was my Beatrix Potter. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I just have so many big Quakers right now that I did not need another one. And this one is just, there's a lot of stitching in it. So I need to pull the needle minder off of it. Actually, let me do that now. I love this needle minder. Pop that over here. This is what I had done on this. This is on a 40 count XG Designs fabric with a beautiful green floss, and I love this. I'm gonna hold on to this. I think this might be a start again in a few years. Once I finish Sarah Moon, I could certainly see myself pulling this back out, but as of right now, I need to not have so many of the same style project going at once. So it is going bye-bye for now, but I do anticipate pulling this back out again once my WIP pile looks a little bit different and I have the need for a large monochromatic Quaker. I'm just trying to be a little bit more mindful about where I spend my time, and having several projects that fill the same need for me in my stitching is not really working too great right now. And the final project that I did decide to UFO is the Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower. I love this piece as well. I started this with Lauren, the New Hampshire stitcher, and Caitlin of Cross Stitch Kate. But my fabric, I feel, is incorrect on this piece, and that is entirely me. I love this project. I do have a good bit started on it, but this fabric, it doesn't look too bad here. In person, it's straight up pink. The pink does not pull on camera. This is Truffle by Picture This Plus. If you've ever owned Truffle by Picture This Plus, you know exactly what I'm talking about, in the fact that this fabric is a chameleon and refuses to show its true colors when it's in front of a camera. But I love it. I love this piece. I love the little girl in her raincoat with the big fountain in the background, all the little animals. I love it. I just don't love this color fabric for it. So I'd like to restart this on a more raw or natural linen. But since I am going to restart it, I have decided that I'm going to wait until I finish my other blue flower pieces, just so that, again, I don't have too many of the same going on at once. But it will be a restart, just on a different fabric. The fabric color was the reason for that UFO. And these are all decisions that I've been sitting on for a hot minute. This is in a project bag Alexis made for me that is so fun, the little animals. But that's just kind of my process for when I do decide to take things out of my WIP rotation. It's mostly just because the process doesn't serve me and it's too big for me to push through. That's usually the key. Or the fabric just really is bothering me for color or count or whatever reason. So I don't really know if that's very interesting, but that's why I decided to take those out of rotation. There are other projects that I've also removed throughout the course of the year, but I forgot to like hold them together, or I already got rid of them or something like that. Or for some of them, if they're small enough, I'll just push through the finish. But for those projects, I did decide to take them out of the rotation, and I do feel pretty good about that decision. I took them out a couple months ago and I have not had any regrets, and I think that's typically the sign that that was a good decision, as I have not regretted it. So I think they're going to come out of timeout and officially be UFO'd, or put on pause and put back with my kitted projects for picking up later, aka Beatrix Potter. And with that, we have come to the end of the WIP Parade. I am so impressed you've made it this far if you have stayed with me. I know this is a lot, and I have a lot of things that I like to talk about. I know the statistics aren't for everyone. My WIP pile is not for everyone. My style is not for everybody. But this is something I feel good about. I feel really good with the number I'm taking into next year, especially employing my 12 new starts. I'm hoping to get a 2 out for 1 in situation and try and get 2 finishes a month every month. I know that will be easier in some months than others because I do have mostly medium to large size projects now. I don't have a lot of smalls left anymore. I finished a lot of smalls this year. So progress is the name of the game, and limitation on my starts. Just because when I say low, it might not feel like I'm starting a lot in the moment, but those little numbers add up. So that's the plan. I'm going to go more in depth on my focuses for every month and my goals in my finished parade video that I'm going to take a break and then film after this. So that is currently the plan. But I love WIP Parade season. I hope that you enjoyed mine, and that if you like my style and you want to see what I get up to working on all of these plus some new stuff in 2025, I hope that you will subscribe and let me know down below if we have any of the same WIPs going. Let me know how many WIPs you've got. Let me know if you worked on something while you watched this. I'd love to know what that was, or just, say hi. Let me know if you're new here. I love catching up with you guys' comments. Is one of my favorite things. This whole YouTube thing is really, really fun, and this is a really great time of year for me to get new people and go find other people that I like to watch. So also go check out somebody else. All of my friends, who I will link down below in the description box, are amazing. I will do my best to link project details, if not just the name and designer of all of my WIPs. So if you had a question about that, definitely go check down below. You can also follow me over on Instagram if you'd like to see more updates than just my floss tubes. I am trying to be better about posting over there, but I do post on my stories when I'm working on stuff sometimes, and I post more details like color conversions and things over there as well. So that is going to be it from me. I'm going to go drink some more hot tea and take a little bit of a break before I round up all my finishes for the year. But thank you for joining me today. I will check you guys out in my next regularly scheduled floss tube, which I think I'll be filming this weekend. So it's a pretty heavy filming week for me, but I'm going to go get this edited and posted. So happy new year to all of you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me as we talk crafts today, and I'll check you all in the next one. Bye.